Mr. President, every day that I drive into Washington, D.C., come here to work, I pass by the Iwo Jima Memorial and Arlington Cemetery. This is a humbling reminder of the valiant men and women from across this nation who have answered the call of duty to 2 world wars, wars in Korea, Vietnam, Persian Gulf, Iraq and Afghanistan, and numerous other conflicts waged to keep America free. It constantly reminds me that the ongoing fight to care for our nation's veterans is my duty and my responsibility, Mr. President, as a member of the United States Senate. These fearless warriors had moms and dads of their own. They had sons and daughters, loved ones, neighbors and friends, but they selflessly made the ultimate sacrifice for all of us. They stood against tyranny, fought oppression, injustice, defended liberty with the highest measure of honor, valor, and courage. They demonstrated the greatest love a person can have by laying down their lives for their country. The greatest honor we can have is to bestow on our men and women in uniform and their families is to remember their immeasurable sacrifice. While we carry on the traditions of Memorial Day, let us never forget that every day is a chance to thank and honor our patriots in uniform. Last week, I had the honor of attending the final send-off of 2 of Nevada's very own at Arlington National Cemetery. And Mr. President, I'd like to tell you about one of them. His name was Bob Wheeler. Bob Wheeler was a patriot in every sense of the word. He joined the United States Air Force in November of 1962. Serving in the pararescue career field, he was recognized as a true innovator in his leadership position, opening the doors for free fall parachuting and combat tactics. He led by example, working diligently and earnestly to help those around him and to protect our country. Bob was credited with saving 28 lives throughout his career, including vulnerable aviators who had crashed and distressed seamen in the Vietnam War. He received the Distinguished Flying Cross for valor, the Airman's Medal, numerous commendation medals, 17 medals, and Sea Service ribbons. His 20 years of service and bravery will never be forgotten. And these are the type of men and women our armed services are made up of, and they live across this nation each and every day representing us and us here in this body. I had the pleasure of working with Bob Wheeler personally. He served on my Nevada Veterans Advisory Council. We worked as a team along with the rest of the council to help improve resources for Nevada's veterans community. His firsthand knowledge of combat and veterans' needs will never be replicated. He was one of a kind, and I'm thankful to have had him as an ally in helping Nevada's veterans. That's why I'm so disappointed to hear the head of the VA, Secretary Robert McDonald, comparing the wait times veterans experience at the VA for healthcare appointments to the wait times at Disney's theme parks. It's totally inappropriate, Mr. President, and it's inexcusable. It shows there's still a culture and an attitude inside the VA that needs to be changed. The mission of the VA should always be to serving the veterans, not finding ways to avoid accountability. So with these words, and I quote, "To care for him who shall have borne the battle for his widows and his orphan." Those were the words of President Lincoln. President Lincoln affirmed the government's obligation to care for those injured during the war and to provide for families of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Congress can do this by working diligently on behalf of those who served and survived, which is why one of the greatest privileges of serving in Nevada in this body is the opportunity to sit on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. Recently, I joined my colleagues to introduce the Veterans First Act. I focused on one thing: improving the delivery of care and benefits to our nation's veterans and to their families. Specifically, I championed causes that reform the VA disabilities claims process, creates a system that can withstand surges of disability claims without generating another claims backlog. Also, I sought to implement a new voluntary 5-year pilot program to help reduce the large backlog of appeals at the Veterans Benefits Administration. I want to establish a new channel whereby veterans can expedite their appeals instead of having to wait 2 to 4 years for a decision by the Board of Veterans Appeals. And I also want to ensure homeless veterans and their families are cared for, which is why this bill includes provisions to reimburse VA-funded shelters for the care of the child of homeless veterans. On behalf of the state of Nevada, the United States Senate, and the United States of America, I express my sincere gratitude to the families of all Nevadans who have given their lives in the line of duty. I assure you that your losses will never be forgotten, and I thank and commend each of the brave Nevadans currently serving in our armed forces, as well as their families, for their sacrifice. But my gratitude extends across the nation to all veterans and their families. We owe all of you a debt of thanks that can never be repaid. May God bless our troops, and may He continue to bless this great country. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.